So I've been recently speaking a little bit more about my experience in life while being on lives. If you want to call it a content creator, YouTuber, it's okay. I just call it life experiences. But recently, I had a moderator who is one of the people that they help keep the chat going, keep it clean from trolls, things like that. Um, I had to ask that they stopped a particular pattern of behavior that they were doing. And that was a measure of conflict resolution. And I said it in my best possible tone. We gave it multiple opportunities. And as this continued, I don't like to use the word escalate, but as it continued, they increasingly lost control of their emotions. They became very emotional, decided that quitting was the best option, and not nothing disrespectful, but had a few choice words. But the way that it was framed and in the way that they did it had a touch of disrespect. But that's okay. I say all that to say is that a lot of times a real lack of accountability is at play with a lot of people. And that is going hand in hand with a loss of emotional control. If you can't be asked to stop a pattern of behavior without having to repeatedly try to explain yourself or frame it as to why you were right or justified, without understanding your why you were asked, then you're missing out on accountability. And this isn't a disrespectful tone. I'm not judging this person, but it's something that everybody, myself included, can certainly be aware of, because a lot of times if we're told that we're not doing something pitch perfect, it can seem like it's an attack, but that wasn't the case. And to be fair, I went back and I asked multiple people who were at the site of that incident between myself and this person if I was out of line. Was my tone off, or was I? And they all said no. But I wanted to give it its respect. I wanted to give it its due diligence to say, I need to get to the bottom of this, because maybe there's something that I need to do to change how I address it as well. Conflict resolution is definitely something that each one of us can look into, but it's also something that we all are growing as we go through, because each time out with each person, it's going to be a little bit different, because it's a different pairing, it's a different situation, it's a different circumstance. You may catch them on a day that they had less rest, so maybe they were a little more temperamental this time than they would have been the day before, the day after. You just never know when and how you catch somebody. So we want to be mindful of that, but we really have to be mindful of our part in things and just the ability to accept it. And even if you don't feel like you were what somebody was asking, ask for more clarity, or ask, okay, what would you like next time? Ask for instruction if that's the case, especially in this case, because I definitely had I was higher on the ladder than he was, if that makes sense. And so I would have easily given feedback. I would have loved to have, but it didn't get to that point. And as it continued, I did have to just stop and ask. I said, "Hey, I feel like we're having a moment here of discourse. What's going on?" And that's when the eruption came. And so sometimes when you try to use your softest hand, that's when it feels the hardest, because they know, and that's okay. But accountability is a wonderful thing to have, and it's a wonderful tool to continue to sharpen. I don't think we just have it and then it's just there all the time. It's a skill. It's something that we need to continue to work on. But the first thing you have to do is acquire it and be able to put it in your toolbox and then use it often. Just like if you are a public speaker addressing the crowd, if you are a lawyer being able to stand up and speak to the court, if you are a doctor being able to use a scalpel, if you're a pianist being able to play the piano, these are all skills that will erode if you do not use them with some sort of regularity. Now, I guess that's a tough one, because regularity would mean that accountability would have to visit you often, where but I don't think that it has to mean that you are being criticized. It could just be, my accountability is, this is my role in the team. I'm going to take self accountability. So it's just knowing your role and taking that on. So there's a lot of ways that we can look at accountability, but I think it's a little easier when you can take self accountability if you are really responsible and looking at things and saying, I know this is what I need to get done. Whereas if somebody comes to you and says, hey, this didn't get done, what's going on, or can you explain a little bit more about this? That's the tougher one, but it is necessary. It's necessary for all of us, and it's a necessary tool that I just wanted to point out. So there's no giant moral to the story or anything else like that, but hopefully it's just one of those things that you guys can leave an ace up the sleeve, advice, comment, experience. I'm sure we've all been in this circumstance, if it's been at work, if it's been part of a team, if it's been part of any part of our lives. There's been a part where somebody has refused to take accountability, even as siblings. When it was both of your turns to clean the house, and one of you didn't take out the trash, and now they are, deflecting all over the place and projecting all over the place as to why it really wasn't their fault, things like that. And that's an internal thing. So a lot of times we got to look within. If we want the change within our lives, we have to start within our lives. So I'm going to leave it at that. But again, guys, I'd love to hear what you have to say on the matter. And you can always find me over on Impact Athletics Association, because that's the other fitness channel where we do some good stuff. And unfortunately, that's where this all happened. But it is something that I can take accountability for my channel, and just say, we have to keep moving. And as a leader and as the face of those things, it happened on my watch, and so that's for me to address, and that's for me to help the channel pick up and move on. That is my role in all of this. So guys, I hope this finds everybody in your place, pursuit, or beginnings of total health, mind, body, and soul. Peace, love, unity, solidarity, and as always, I'm going to leave the Impact subscription and this channel subscription and a couple videos. So guys, stick around.